for joining us. We are going straight to Moscow, where at the height of the morning rush hour, we've been getting reports of explosions at two of Moscow's metro system stations. The first blast rocked the Lubyanka metro station. That's in the center of the city. Russian news agencies, quoting emergencies ministry sources, say at least 34 people have been killed, another 10 wounded. Now, the dead include 14 people who were in the train's second car when the blast occurred. That is one of two in all. We can go over to Moscow to get the very latest on this. For us is Richard Galpin, who's covering the story. Richard, two attacks, in fact.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. As you're saying, the first one took place just before 8 o'clock local time here at Lubyanka metro station, which is very close to the headquarters of Russia's main intelligence agency, the FSB. And then the second one about half an hour later at Park Kultury, at which we know that around about 10 or 12 people were also killed. And what we understand actually is that the place where the bombing took place was exactly the same in each attack, in the second carriage of the metro train. And the latest we're hearing from prosecutors is that they do believe that both these explosions were carried out by suicide bombers.
Right, and at least one of them timed with the train in at the station platform.
Yeah, no, we understand that we think that both actually took place when the metro station was at a standstill on the platform, because certainly, for example, in the first one at Lubyanka, 11 people were killed who were standing on the platform, 14 inside the train. So clearly there have been victims both inside and outside.
An acknowledgement, presumably, from the authorities, Richard, that this is a coordinated attack. Any finger of suspicion being pointed yet?
Well, not officially, no. I mean, they're saying that they've opened an investigation into a suspected terrorist attack, but they're not saying who. But you know, inevitably in these cases, everybody starts pointing the finger of suspicion at militants from the North Caucasus region. I mean, if you go back in history, or not that long in fact, but back to from the years from 2000 to 2004, there were a whole series of attacks here in the capital as the Second Chechen War got underway, and they were carried out, it is believed, by Chechen suicide bombers. So, of course, the finger of suspicion will point in that direction, but at this stage, nobody is saying anything for sure, and certainly we've not had any claim of responsibility.
Have the authorities been caught with their guard down, Richard? I mean, I say that in the knowledge that there hasn't been an attack of any great consequence for a number of years, in fact, in Moscow, has there?
That's right, although back at the end of November last year, there was a bomb attack on the main train line between Moscow and St. Petersburg, in which quite a large number of people were killed, and that was blamed on Chechen militants. So certainly there was an awareness at that time. People were saying it looks like the attacks are now spreading from beyond the North Caucasus once again into mainland Russia. So there was concern at that stage. So I think that certainly the authorities would have been aware that there was a possibility that various groups were trying to carry out attacks, high-profile attacks, and obviously the most high-profile is here in the capital, Moscow.
Well, clearly. Richard, thanks very much indeed for that. Let's get down on the ground in Moscow, because Yuri Maloverian from the BBC Russian service is in central Moscow. Where exactly are you, Yuri?
Morning. I'm right beyond the metro station where the explosion occurred. That is Lubyanka metro station. That's in the center of Moscow, right beneath the headquarters of FSB, the intelligence service. Right, so and the square is the size of Trafalgar Square, and it is partly closed for traffic and even for pedestrians, and there are dozens and dozens of special cars and ambulances, and the helicopter just left from the helicopter of the emergency ministry just left the square. So otherwise, it is quiet because it's been 2 hours since the explosion occurred, and people here on the surface, people look quite relaxed by the moment.
Well, that's something, isn't it? I can imagine it could hardly have been busier at the time that this explosion took place.
Yes, and the places where this part of the two stations, they're on the same line of the Moscow metro, the Lubyanka and Park Kultury, and the line is partly closed, and there are reports from the places where the end stations of the line are that there are thousands of people stuck there, and some people are stuck in the tunnels because near the Park Cultura, because the trains are stopped there in the tunnels and they are still waiting. They are sending SMSs from there, there are huge traffic jams, even bigger than they are usually in Moscow, because partly the streets in the center of Moscow are closed, and these streets are very busy even in normal days.
Yes, I imagine it must be a city which is facing a virtual shutdown, I suppose, as far as the security services.
Yes, in parts of the city, yes, and in big parts of the city.
And what are people around the scene saying? I imagine a huge number of people will be very shocked by what's happened. You said it seems quite relaxed at the moment, but do they seem to have an idea as to who's done this?
Yeah, the people have quite usual suspicions. They always suspect the Caucasian separatists for that. And the people, they are very much as this. Sociologists tell us, and the polls tell us, that Moscow is pretty much xenophobic city, and people always blame incomers, migrants, for that. And there are even street polls by local. I have heard some street polls by local radio stations, FM radio stations, and the answers normally were that they have to close Moscow for incomers, for migrants.
Well, Yuri, for now, thank you very much indeed. We leave Yuri as we bring into you the latest pictures from the hospital in Moscow, where a large number of the casualties are being brought off the back of those two explosions. And as we have a look at these pictures, let me just bring you up to date again, as we've heard from Moscow's emergency ministry spokeswoman, Veronika Smolskaya, saying 22 people were killed in that first blast, which was at the Lubyanka station, where Yuri was reporting to us just now from. That's right in central Moscow, and indeed is right beneath the building which houses the main offices of the FSB, that's the successor to the KGB, which of course may prove to be a highly symbolic target. And the second explosion, which came around about 45 minutes later, was at the Park Kulturi station, and the spokeswoman has said that at least 12 people have been killed in that attack there. The Moscow city prosecutor says that the blast was a suicide bombing. It does appear to have been, for both trains, the same carriages, the second carriage along, as the train sat in the platform. So obviously a major incident for Moscow, for the authorities there, and we will obviously keep you right across this story here on BBC World News as events and developments come into us. Well, let's catch up.